everyone. Welcome to another Untold Stories podcast. And today I have Captain Skip Bradeen with us, and he is going to talk about his journey in life as a charter boat captain in the Florida Keys, one of the most well-known charter boat guys here, certainly an icon in the community as well, and a funny guy. And it's really a pleasure to have him here today. Skip, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. A pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about this interview we're going to do right now, Well, thank you very much. A pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about this interview we're going to do right now, You talked to me a few times about it, and I said, you know what? This is probably just what I want to sit down and do with you. I love your shows all the time, and I'm certainly very, very pleased and honored to be here with you.
Well, I'm glad
Captain Towe.
I'm glad you could do it, and certainly somebody I've looked up to. When I moved here and you hear all these names as a kid, you're like, oh man, who's that guy? Who's this guy? And I mean, for so long, the blue chip, Captain Skip Bradeen, and unmistakable laugh and voice when you hear it. He's in the house when you hear him talking, and it'll just be great to hear your journey, where this all started. If it started as you were a kid, did you ever think you would make it to the Keys as a charter boat guy? I mean, what happened when you were growing up?
Well, that's a good story how it started. It started when I was 8 years old out of Freeport, Long Island, New York. I'll give you a little New York once in a while, the accent to remind you everybody where I'm from. Anyway, my dad was in this business. He worked on a Captain Jack fleet out of Woodcliff Canal, and I imagine a lot of people in this podcast know exactly where Woodcliff Canal is, And I was 8 years old, and I'd go out on the weekends with my dad on the boat, and we could leave the house at 4 o'clock in the morning. He'd stop by and have a PB. He'd get a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Everybody had a beer in their hand when they got out of the car. It was different in those days.
Wow.
6 o'clock in the morning, Dad's having a beer and a cup of coffee, and I'm sitting in the Viking grill having breakfast and all. And so we go out on the boat, and he did a little bottom fishing off of Freeport. And I had a problem. I got seasick. I used to get seasick all the time. And then my dad said, I'm not going to bring you along anymore. He said, I hate to see you feel this way all the time. Well, I really did enjoy it. I loved not getting seasick. I enjoyed being out there. So I said, Dad, let me have one more shot, And so let me go out next weekend. So next week, come along, got on a boat. Sure enough, I started feeling ill again. And he had a big fat mate. His name was John. I always got one fun with John is because by John, I could hide behind him and puke over the side. My dad wouldn't see it. So I overcome it. I did. I just overcome. That's how much I loved it. And then I was 8 years old. I was 10 years old. And then I got to be 12. I'd ride my bike from Merrick, Long Island, which is right next door, to Freeport. And I cleaned the boats for the mates, the deckhands. And it was 50 cents to clean a boat in those days. And
wow.
Yeah, when they wanted to get rid of me, they'd say, the mate or the captains, they wanted to get rid of me, they said, hey, Skip, go down the street and get us a bucket of steam. I said, a bucket of steam. I never heard of it, but I'll go down and get it. So everybody in that canal knew that when I'd come by, my dad wanted me to get me out of there for whatever reason. And so I'd go down the road to three stores down and 3 blocks down. I said, excuse me, Al, my dad sent me down here for a bucket of steam. He saw a little Skip. We just ran out of it. Just go about half a mile further down. So some days I'd spend about an hour and a half just looking for a bucket of steam, in which there was no such thing.
Right.
I forgot about that story, actually.
Wow.
It's funny how when you do stuff like this, it brings back things. So
Sure.
I never did find that bucket of steam. But anyway, I'd clean the boat for 50 cents in those days. And then when I was in high school, I'd get there in the afternoon and in the summertime, and I worked on a boat called the Angler. Artie White, his name was. And most of these folks that are doing this with this podcast, those names are gone. I'm talking 60 years, 60, 70 years ago, right?
Oh, wow.
Because I'll be 80 here.
Sure.
In
And they were
couple
probably
months,
older when
and
you
then,
were
yeah,
growing
they were all 40, 50, 60, So there's nobody left in that. But some of the kids and all that, my name Artie White on the Angler, and he had Al Lindroff. I tell you right now, these people in here know the name Captain Al out of Freeport. People are going to light up when they hear I say that name because
Wow.
that was a very famous name. It's well known in Long Island as my name is in the Florida Keys. Anyway, you're a very grouchy, famous fisherman. They've had the Captain too, and the Captain Al and so forth. My dad worked with him on a Viking fleet as a captain, and so that's how I got going in there. So I'd work on the boats at night, blue fishing out of Woodcliff Canal, out of the Poop Deck Dock, right? And that's a name a lot of old people that can relate. I mean, I'm talking about the kids' kid, not the old people that I grew up when they were all 50, 60, and I'm talking about their kids, the old captain's kids like me.
Right.
We can recall that. I'm sure some of these people picking up on what we're saying now, and they say, wow, Skip's really bringing back some memories. And so that was my memories. And I worked on the boats all this time in the summertime. And then after high school, I went in the Air Force. I wanted to go in the Coast Guard, but in those days, everybody was going into service. It was right at Vietnam time. Well, it was a draft time anyway.
Right.
And a lot of my friends were getting deferred. They didn't want to go. They wanted to do other stuff, and I wanted to go. So I wanted to go in the Coast Guard, and there was no room in the Coast Guard. There was a 6-month waiting list to get in the Coast Guard. So right next door was the Air Force recruiting booth there in Roosevelt, Long Island. And I went and walked in there, and then an hour later, I'm shaking hands with the guy that signed you up right there. And next thing I know, I was off on my way in the Coast Air Force. And
No kidding.
yeah,
I had no
so a
idea
lot of people
you were-
didn't know that. Yeah, but I worked out. I went to school in Lackland, Texas, and Lackland Air Force Base, San Antonio, and they shipped me to Langley Field, Virginia. And I was there. I did a hitch there, and next thing I know, I wanted to go someplace. I said, well, let me send me volunteer. I want to go. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Germany. I want to go someplace and get out of here. I've been there 2 years. Well, they sent me to Vietnam. So the moral of the story is,
Oh, boy.
don't ever volunteer.
Yeah.
In this service, they never volunteer. But anyway, I went to Vietnam, and quite frankly, it wasn't Japan, wasn't Germany, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because I got a whole new outlook of life and how the people lived over there.
I'll
And
bet.
some of the stories are. It was sad, it's just a very poor country that it's probably much better now, but it was very poor in those days. And I got to see how the people lived and all that. But anyway, I did the best I could and made what I could. And I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed being over there and watching how things went there. I felt sorry for the population, very poor population over there. I was at a place called Pleiku up in the mountains, Mountain Nods, the name of the people up there. They're like Indians actually up there. They ran that part of the world. So I was there for my time. When I got ready to ship home, I decided they wanted to know if I wanted to stay in and re-up in the Air Force to get out. I said, no, I'm going to get out. So I got out. I had less than 4 years, and I had 3 years, 3 months, and 29 days. But who's counting? But if you had less than 9 months and you didn't want to re-up, then you got an early out. So I got out a couple of months early, and there I went to Freeport, and I took a job on a charter boat at the boat called the Millie One. Jack Valentine. It was his last year in business. He was in the Coast Guard. He was deaf from all the guns blowing off in World War II. He couldn't hear, so I had to be. And we were fishing out of Jones Inlet. Then we go out there to Collar Banks and stuff like the Essenstein, and that's right in the shipping. I mean, all the big ships are out there, and I'll tell you what, and it's foggy and so forth. And I wah wah. And Jack, you just never knew there was anything around. I'd say, Jack, over here, I hear the noise over here. Anyway, sure enough, here they come, the ships out of the fog and all. He couldn't hear. We didn't have radar in those days either.
Was this offshore?
This
Like
was
you were
offshore,
tuna
yeah,
fishing?
about 10, 15 miles off of Jones Inlet. It depended when made a right hand, go to New Jersey, made a left, and you went out to Shinnecock or out in that area, depending which way you want to go catch the bluefish and all. So I spent my time doing that, and I made a few dollars. I bought a brand new Chevrolet Impala convertible that
Bet you had
summer.
that now.
And I wish I had that. It was a 64. Anyway, I was sitting in a bar called the Poop Deck Lounge, and my buddy Ray Jensen. I knew Ray, but he worked the other side of the canal. I worked at the Boatsman Association docks. And I'm saying, I just bought this new car, and it is the middle of September. It starts winding down then. You got from the end of May to most of September, depending how cold it gets. But anyway, it's the middle of that. I said, well, I'm going to take a ride and go down to Florida. I'm going to get out of Fort Lauderdale. I got my new car. I look like Kooky Burns. I'm going to see if I can pick up a chick or two. And then I'm going to come back to Long Island, and I was going to become a butcher. My family owned my friends had a butcher shop, and they said, well, Skip, anytime you're ready to settle down, we'll send you to school and you can work in the butcher shop to become a meat cutter. Well, anyway, I got down here with I'm sitting in this bar, and this race he's talking about coming to Florida. He said, I'm going down about the same time that I got a job down in this town called Isla Mirada. I said, well, I never knew it. Anyway, where is it? Florida Keys. I said, where's that? Anyway, so he said, could I ride along? He says, like, share expenses. I said, I'd love to have you share expenses. I'll take you down, put you close my brand new Chevrolet Impala convertible, and I'll drop you off someplace, and I'm not going down to that place called the Keys. But anyway, I brought him down, and he talked me into bringing him down here to Almirada, and I did, and I met an old, and he had a job on the Tradewinds party boat.
Right?
Remember
No
the
kidding.
Tradewinds? He had a job in John Wadley owned the fleet, and there's a guy named Charlie Roush. They called him Mongo Charlie. He used to, when he wasn't fishing, he would be catching brass and aluminum around town. He'd go in a place that they were rebuilding a house or something, some old stuff laying around. That's what he did with Mongo Charlie Roush, his name was. And Ray had a job on that boat. So I pulled into Chesapeake Marina, and Chesapeake Docks, Chesapeake Marina, and dropped him off at the dock. And this old captain says, you want to go fishing? I said, no, I don't have any money for this. I said, I'm a fisherman up in New York, but I don't have any money for this. He said, you got the experience. I said, well, I can drive a boat. I don't get seasick, but I can't, I can tie a knot, but I don't know much about this. He said, well, I'll give you $5 tomorrow to come along. He says, we got 4 people in from Chicago, 4 guys. And he said, if you would come along, I'll give you $5. They'll probably give you a $5 tip. It's a half day. We'll leave at 8 o'clock, get back at noon, and you help clean the boat up. And you're going to get a $5 bill for me and $5 for the people. I said, wow, it's a lot of money to be home by noon. In those days, the name of the boat was the Always, by the way. Those days were $60 for a full day's fishing.
Wow.
$60 for a full day's charter for up to 6 people. $40 for a half day. $40. And his half day was 4 hours. A full day was 8 hours. And everybody left at 8 o'clock. Not leaving before the sun comes like we do now. 8 o'clock you left and get back at noon. Right at noon. And we had no GPS or anything else. Captain knew exactly where they were and how long to get back. We were right at the dock at noon sharp. If you wanted an all day, you left it from 8 till 4 o'clock. And it was $60 for a day. Yep. And
times have changed.
Oh my goodness. With gasoline, it was like 12 cents a gallon. And anyway, I worked that boat that day, and I really was impressed with everything. And I said, I talked to Ray. I said, Ray, I'd like to hang around here a few more days. Well, he had secured a trailer right there by Billy's Auto Parts, by the way. And it was a Texaco station back in the day. Behind a place called Land Crab Trailer Park. And it was $85 a month. For the bed. He had a little room on a couch. It was a 1-bedroom little trailer. But anyway, he said, you can stay here if you want. So I stayed there, and I went back and just hung around with this captain the next couple of days and just kind of really enjoyed. Obviously, what's not to enjoy, So I called New York. I was supposed to be back in 2 weeks. I was going to go to school. I called New York. I say, Mom, I said, I'm not coming home for a couple more weeks. I'll be home about the middle of October, sometime like that. I want to just feel it out a little bit more. It's pretty nice down here. Well, I got a job now. I'm starting to learn how to tie a knot, and we got a few charters, things like that. So I called New York in the middle of October. I said, Mom, I'll be home for Thanksgiving. I'll be home for Halloween. I said, I'll be home for Halloween, I promise. So here we are, it's Halloween, and now I'm really having a good time. I'm getting the keys to Z's at a very young age. So here we are at a Chinese restaurant. I don't know if you know it, called Rock Harbor Chinese Restaurant. Remember that place up there?
Yeah.
Rock Harbor. So I'm in that place at Halloween night, and I'm blitzed, man. I called New York. I said, well, I won't be home till Thanksgiving. I promise. I won't miss Thanksgiving. Oh, you better get home, son. You got to go to school. Be a meat. Got to come Thanksgiving. Now it's a season. Now we're in October, November, and I'm really getting the groove now. Getting people starting to know a little bit about me. I'm knowing a little bit about people. So I called Thanksgiving. I said, Mom, I'll tell you, I promise I won't miss Christmas. I'll never miss Christmas. I'll be home for Christmas. Comes Christmas. Now we're really rolling here. We're in December, making some big dollars, making $15, $20 a day now, really making big bucks. And I called New York. I said, Mom, I'll be home in the springtime. I'm going to stay here in the winter. Who wants to go to Long Island this time? Look at the snow on the ground. Look out the window. Come springtime, I called New York. I said, Mom, my cold weather clothes, give away. I'm not coming home no more. I never went back. Never went back. I actually didn't go back for about 7, 8 years just to visit. That was it. Got the keys to Z, met a girl, fell in love, and that very boat that I was on called the Always, I bought that boat from the old man, Rainy Roy. You remember that name? I don't know if you remember that name, Rainy Roy. Anyway, I bought the boat for $3,200. It was a 32-foot sport fisherman. It had a bridge on it, had a pair of 6-cylinder Chrysler Crown engines on it. And I was on my way. I started working hard. I'd always stay at the dock. I had no business, so I'd stay at the dock every day and just hustle. You want to go fish, you want to go fishing. And I got it going. My wife had my daughter. Then my wife had my son. We bought a house. We bought a trailer. Then we bought a house. So now we got a house. We got 2 kids. I got a charter boat. All in 4 years.
Wow.
Well, I got my captain's license too, and I said in 1965 I got my license too.
Right.
And I was on my way, and that was it. From there, it was just storybook. I kept the Always.
What was the name of it when you chartered? You keep it the Always was the
yes,
name?
it was. Yeah, it was called the Always. 32-foot Harker's Island.
Was the Charlie Rouse Rotten Ralph?
No. Rod Ralph's still with us.
Is he
yes,
really?
He's in the home there up there, Plantation Key. We go see him every couple of weeks. He's in the home now.
Yeah,
Rod Ralph.
I haven't seen him.
Ralph Harding.
Yeah.
Ralph Harding.
Yep.
So anyway, we ran the Always for a couple of years, and then I bought that in 1965. And 2 years later, a boat called the Blue Chip came up for sale, and I bought that. I bought that boat for $13,500. I bought my house for $12,500 right there by Founders Park. But anyway, I bought that for $13,500, and I ran it and got it really going. My business was terrific. I really got it going. And shortly thereafter, 1981, from 67, 81, I ran the Blue Chip, and then I got the Blue Chip, the new boat, the Blue Chip TOO, I called it, Blue Chip 2. And I ran that one. That was a big blue boat. You remember that boat,
Yeah.
And then I had that for many years. And then along came this boat I have. It was called the Fishtails. Guthrie,
right.
Julie Guthrie.
Yep.
That was a fish. That was Rod Allen's boat.
Yeah.
And I bought that boat. And the rest is history. Just right to the top. Here I am, 55 years in business, and I'm semi-retired now. I have to tell you truthfully, I'm kind of like missing. I'm missing it being out there a little bit, but I don't miss sleeping at 8 o'clock anymore. I love that, man. I used to get up at 5:30, as you know.
Yeah, oh,
You
yeah.
get up early in the morning, but now I'm sleeping a little bit later. I get the New York Post, read the paper, go to the gym every day. Life's a little different. I know one thing: if you ever see me running a boat anymore, it's because somebody owns it.
Right.
I'm not going to own a boat anymore.
Yeah.
I have a few opportunities right now. Actually, I have to decide which way I want to go with that. So that's it. It's been a very, very successful life for me. It has. I mean, just so much to it.
When you started doing this and you started your business, at that young age and getting into it, it was the big learning curve. You're learning all the time where to go, what to do, how to do it, and the tackle. We didn't have a lot of, sophisticated tackle back then. We kind of made what we had work. And that was one thing I always admired about what you were doing. Anybody that got off your boat was smiling. They had a great time. Whether they caught a 30-pound dolphin or a 10-pound dolphin, at the end of the day, fishing's fishing. You can only do so much fishing. And we're really in the entertainment business. That's what we really do. Our personalities really come out with perfect strangers for the most part, and they become friends and they become clients, and you develop this relationship with people over time that keep fishing with you. And like you say, their friends and their family and their kids, and
I'm on the fourth generation now.
Yeah.
Of families. I started fishing in 1965 on the always. Yeah, I'm on that generation of families now. And you're right about that, Randy. And I tell the deckhands, I said, the most important thing is make sure that people enjoy themselves out there. We're not always going to catch the most fish, and we hardly ever catch the most fish. We catch our share of fish, but don't worry about having the most fish. Make sure that people have the most fun on the boat. Yeah. And that's been my success. Now you got internets and everything like that. People get up on websites, book boats, sight unseen. But in my days, it wasn't like that. You had to have the people repeat referral. They have to go back home and say, I had a great time with this guy, and here's his card, and I recommend him. And that's how I built a business. I brainstormed it, but it went right through the roof. And it took me about 3 years to do 250 days. 4 years later, I was doing 300 days a year for 30 years. I mean, it just made a massive business. And again, there was no internet or anything like that. It was just word of mouth, people having a good time, telling people to have a good time, come see Skip Bradeen.
Yeah. And it was, you never had a fast boat.
No,
and your boats were people, slow.
People always made fun of me.
But you were the one laughing to the bank, because at the end of the day, your fuel bill was a quarter of everybody else. And you still caught your share of fish. And
we always manage. You know how many fish you guys go by when you're going 60 miles an hour?
Well, exactly.
To the ground, all the fish. Well, I couldn't go by them because I wasn't fast enough to go by them.
And you would always catch stuff that we went by.
Oh, yeah. You left a lot of fish in your wake, Randy.
You didn't see that palm tree you went by at 40 miles an hour, and those were the things, I look at all of that going so fast, okay, I'm going to go 17 miles. That's where the birds are. Yep. And you might have thought, we might get to 17 miles.
Well, I'd like to be there eventually,
it's
but
I
can't
a while.
Picture it anytime soon, that's for sure.
But we're going to see what's along the way.
Yeah,
and
we did.
Think of how many days you never even made it to where you thought you would go.
Didn't need to,
because you
guys left so many fish behind you that it was often easy for the picking. And there are boats like that. You're right. I never had a fast boat. The new Blue Chip too. That would go about 14, 15 knots. So they go 20, but I never run a boat like that. I just grew up with slow, nice, very particular, practical charter boats.
Yeah.
When diesel fuel, when they're up to 50 cents a gallon, most guys went crazy around the dock. I can't believe it. And they're burning through that 50 cents a gallon. I'm burning through it too, about half of what they're burning through. It costs about $4.50 a day to run my boat. They spend as much as $10. That's when we get $70 and $80 a day. You spend $10. That's a lot of money when you only have $60 left to pay off the deckhand and make the fuel, the dockage, and everything else that breaks on your boat.
That was the difference between building success and struggling, not having enough money at the end of the month to pay your bills, because you kept your overhead low, and your fuel bill in the charter business,
That's a
Probably
major
your
thing.
biggest expense.
Well, you got
is fuel.
well now it really is. In those days, I never had a problem because, like you said, I've always had a slow boat, and I never burned a lot of fuel in it. But I was an individual. A lot of boats are owned by corporations.
Well, now they
so
are.
It was different. Yeah, even in
And
those days there were a few corporation boats, but I was an individual, and I knew at the bottom of the day I need to know that bottom line. I have some money left over in the cockpit of my pocket, you might say.
well, and you also took advantage of the wintertime with all the ballyhoos around.
Oh,
You know, you would catch your ballyhoos in the winter. You'd put them up for the spring and the summer dolphin fishing. So you didn't have a big bait bill by summertime because you were able to put up 1,000 ballyhoos to have. And there were little tricks like that you don't find on the internet, and you don't find these little things that help your business become more efficient. But it makes a huge difference if you don't have to spend that money and
yeah,
put it away.
the bottom line is how much when you take it and what's left over at the end of the day. And boy, I tell you today, charter boat expenses are off the chart now. They really are. I mean,
Yeah.
dockage is now
What's $1,000 or something a month?
dockage. Oh, more than that. Some marines are getting 1,500 now.
Wow.
And the charter boat's getting 18 to 2,000 a day. And I was telling you about I work on in Key Largo is 2,400,
Yeah.
a 54-foot Bertram, but it costs a lot of money to plow that thing through the water too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
anyway,
And insurance.
those are yeah. And we don't have. I tell you, I don't have I have a few clients that like to that kind of boat, but most of the people enough's enough. And it's 1,800, 2,000. You're breaking the camel's back with those prices somewhat. There's a lot of money in the Florida Keys, especially now. But point being, it's just as much. How much can you spend on a charter? But it costs that much money to keep the boat, the insurance,
Yeah.
the deckhands, and
Yeah.
you break apart on the boat, and the mechanics are buck and a half, $200 an hour now to get a mechanic if you can get them.
Yeah.
I mean, the Keys are on fire right now. They are really are. It's the best.
Well,
It's the
Kalex
best
calls it the gold rush.
It's a gold rush. And Allie knows. He and I have been gold rushing for a long time.
Yeah, you have.
I turn the Keys over to him for the gold rush right now. Like I said, I really want to get back into business. I'm going to a little bit, but again, it's going to be. I'll wake up in the morning if I hear that wind breezing a little bit out there. I might call the client and say, you know what? Let's wait till tomorrow, the next day. In the old days, I'd tell people come down to dock. For years, I was the only boat out some days. I just needed the money. The bank didn't want to hear about it. It was so rough.
That's
and
right.
they get down to dock, and all the boats at dock. People can be behind the boat, and I say, all right, let's go. They say, well, what do you think, Cap? I say, oh, it's a great day. They're going to bite it. The rougher, the better. So we go out. I didn't sit in at all. I didn't sit in because the bank didn't want to know anything about.
Oh, you
it
can't
was
pay
too
the
rough.
rent
You
sitting at the
can't
dock.
pay your rent when you sit in the dock. And I was a stormtrooper back in those days. So was Allie Adler, by the way.
Yeah.
Allie did his stormtroop, and I talk to him all the time now. He said, Skippy's now if it's like that, we take him around the bridges down the big charter boat. We catch the top, and we catch, you do other things now.
Absolutely.
So he don't like losing a day, and I didn't like losing a day, but now it's different. Now, if the wind's blowing, I call the pipe and say, yeah, I think we better put it off. It's a whole different world for me out here right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, it's a
I
big
always
world.
say there's two types of fishing. Whether you go fishing or you do not go fishing.
Yeah, I always used to say you can't. This is my saying: you can't ever get that day back. I used to say that all the time. That was a saying on the dock. People say, "What do you mean, Scott?" I said, "You can't. Well, if you sit in today, are you going to move it to tomorrow? Well, you didn't get today, so you can't get this day back. But tomorrow doesn't mean anything because you can't get this day back.
That's
so
right.
let's get on the boat and go fishing." And that's what I did. Anyway, I had a great career. I mean, I tell you what, I can't imagine anybody's had a better time in this business. Maybe, you know what? Mainly because I've enjoyed the clientele. I really enjoy the people. I like the kids get up on the bridge and show them, put the kid in the chair with the steering wheel in their hand,
Yeah.
and let them take the boat. Once you get out of the channel, go ahead, take the boat. Let's go right over there like that, and put a little land point or a point on them and let them go for it. They love it like that, and on and on. You had T-shirts for little guys every day to catch the best fish, and the other kids want one, they get one too, and stuff like that. Always, gifts and stuff I'd put out there for the people. A T-shirt cost me $8. So what? I'd sell 100 of them in the summer, and they at $20. So the profit out of it was all come out. You got it free advertising all over the world with it and stuff like people all over the world. Then people said that I was in Hawaii. Well, that's no big deal, Hawaii, but you could be in Europe. Anyway, they said, Skip, you wouldn't believe it. So I was standing in line in the airport, and somebody had a Blue Chip 2 T-shirt on, So we put a lot of T-shirts out over the years, as well. No,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Well, and
the way it was.
just like that little kid you let take the wheel,
Oh,
might have been
they
just
love it.
like you.
Yeah.
Maybe something sparks with him and he thinks it's cool and he asks his dad to go do it again and wants to investigate it more. And that's how it all starts.
Yeah, it's all about having a good time out there, and I like to think that the when all my career, I think people have had as good a time with me as they've had it with anybody in this business. And that's really it.
I have never talked to
you know.
anybody
Yeah.
that didn't have something good to say about Skip Bradeen.
Yeah, no,
I have never heard that, oh, that's a bad guy, or oh, these guys
Don't
didn't
go out
have
on
fun.
that boat. Yeah.
They were, everybody
Yeah.
has.
It's still that way, Randy. It's still that way. I get so many phone calls right now. You know, people are. I'm off the website now. I got my personal business cards are all over the world from people. You know, and I got a party tomorrow, Wednesday, I guess it is, and they were told by a party, Jim Connors from up Tampa, Florida, used to be 25, 30 years ago, and he's a repeat referral, 30-year-old referrals. I still have my business card, and I'm still getting that kind of business. Really, it's as much as I want to do right now. You know, I don't have a boat, and I won't own a boat anymore. And I will be running a boat a little bit, so just keep an eye on what's going on in my future. I'll be up on the website again.
At this stage of the game, I mean, you've paid your dues.
Oh, absolutely. I don't feel guilty.
Your book has been written, and you should be able to enjoy you.
I enjoyed it. I tell you, I don't feel guilty one bit about rolling over to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, punch that alarm clock in the nose, and getting up at 8 o'clock. I really don't feel guilty. People think I would, because in the Air Force, I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I never got up in high school. My mom had to throw me out of bed to go to school. But once you go into service, you're going to get up or you're going to get out. Yeah. So I made it, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm standing at attention with my gig line out in Lackton, Texas, and standing at attention for that. And from that was the start of me. I mean, I was a terror in high school, like a lot of kids are, but I got the service taught me. And I tell all young kids, if they don't have a game plan, I talk to kids all the time at 15, 16, they're seniors, juniors, whatever. And what are you going to do when you ask? Well, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe go to school. Maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to do, you know, like that. I said, well, you don't have a game plan. Look into the service, you know. And the parents, when I said, a lot of parents like that idea of saying that, because they're frustrated with their kids too a little bit, because the kids, they don't have a direction. The service is a great direction to get started.
Well, it becomes you get a work ethic.
Oh, punctuality. You know, I mean, and if you're in the military, you somebody coming in the dock and they tell you in the military and you're looking for a deckhand, that's the guy you want to take with you.
Yeah, I mean that probably molded you in a way.
Oh, without a doubt,
to do what you did in the charter business, because you know. A lot of people don't realize an 8-hour charter doesn't mean it's 8 hours. It means there's 2 or 3 hours in the morning getting ready. There's an extra hour or two at the end of the day.
Oh, without a doubt. That's if nothing breaks down. You got to get out in the engine room and do something. And next thing, anyway, it's a love of a career. It's a love. You got to love it. If you do it to make the money, you're going to make some money. But I had fun doing it. That's a different.
Yeah, I think it shows money. Too.
I mean, it has. And
people
it still does.
Doing it
for
the
still
money.
Does.
It's a
it still does. I've got waiting to look in Wednesday. Mr. Connor's coming in. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I haven't seen him, but I don't know him. But I know the people that referred him to me, and I'm looking forward to going fishing on Wednesday. And again, I just pick and choose my days. I don't like to disappoint anybody, but if the wind's blowing 30 like it was last week, or going 30, 25, 35, this kid's staying home. Back in the old days, I'd say, oh, no, come on, we'll show those guys. We'll go out there and toughen it up, and we did.
I'm sure the yellowtails appreciate you not being on the water as
Yeah,
much.
yellowtail getting a break since I semi-retired, really.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
Hey, you know what? We had a lot of fun out there over the time to quit your bitching out there, and always mugging a snapper on the high there with your pinch fish and everything else, and all the way around. I do miss the camaraderie out there, you know, somewhat. But I do go out. I go out a day and a half a week. But I'm not a captain. I'm not a deck here. I am a captain. I'm not on the bridge. I'm not in the cockpit. I'm the entertainer.
Yeah.
That's my new title.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love it. I sing and dance. In fact, I'm looking to take singing lessons, I think, now. I got to do something with my time. I got a lady in Key Largo I'm going to look up. Because I get a pretty good voice. You don't recognize it right now.
Well, maybe Dancing with the Stars.
If
you could apply for that.
I already did that.
I mean, you got your new knees. You got to be ready to cut the rug.
Yeah, my knees went bad. I'll tell you what, about 10 years ago, I had pneumonia. As Eric Cohn would say, Skippy, you got pneumonia.
Wow.
I had them both done.
Yeah.
And
at one time.
At one time, one of the first guys ever have that done. You know, in our business of guides, Scott Stans, he can hardly walk anymore. He's got so much pain.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah, well, it's just pain in the knees. You think about hanging on the bridge for me, 55 years, but you're thinking there 15, 20 years and rock and roll every day, and you stand up there, backcountry guides too, whatever. I mean, you think about what it does to your body. It takes a lot out of it, and most of the guys I know have knee problems. Alex got back problems. He's had back problems for ages, you know, and most guys, you spend 15, 20 years, and me, 50 years. In the business of 55, and you kind of fall apart. That's why I'm really glad I'm in the position I'm in right now. You know, I pick and choose the days, and a couple of days a week, and to go to the gym and just a different world. And I don't feel guilty about staying in bed till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
No more.
you've earned it.
Yes,
And
yeah,
I can't tell you what a pleasure it was to have you in here and
Thank you.
talk about
I
your
certainly
journey.
enjoyed it.
It was just awesome to hear all that. You're one of the greats, and I'm happy to be your friend.
Well, it's always been that. We've been friends. You remember you used to play softball for me.
I
right?
remember the
Yeah,
softball
no, really,
days.
really, you were a pro ball player. You didn't. I mean, I don't know if people knew that. You were
Yeah.
a professional ball player, right?
Yeah.
Then I brought you down to play on the Blue
Yeah,
Chippers.
somehow it leaked out.
Yeah.
And there's like, oh hey, this guy that knows how to play baseball. Maybe he'd want to play on our softball team.
And we had a great team. I tell you, some great ball players on our team down here in those days. We were called Whale Harbor. The Whale Harbor. It was called the Whale Harbor team. Then we called the Blue Chippers after a while. But a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah, I miss that too.
Good days. Well, we're gonna have some more.
You got it, my friend. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Skip.
Uh huh.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.